Yes, you are.
For what it's worth.
You can keep that.
I mean, it's a downgrade, but I mean,
Definitely not a downgrade, absolutely not.
don't tell Jennifer.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
No worries.
All right, we should be all set to go.
All right, welcome everybody to the December 10th, 2025 Planning Commission. I have on the agenda a number of business items. We have a quorum today, and we're going to start with a legislative prayer or thought by Commissioner Woodward.
Thanks. So I've been reading books about the kings of England, and I just finished reading a book about Henry V, who is one of the, I guess, known to be probably the best king of that era. And I just thought, as I was reading it, I kind of thought, I mean, he was a great king. Everybody thought he was a great king. But that method of government is quite a bit different than what we enjoy in this country. And I just thought about, they expected a lot of things, but he expected, you know, a lot of taxes, he needed money to go to war, he needed to fight the French, he needed to take over anyway, all those things. But I just really, as I was reading that, appreciated the opportunities we have here, that we can have a say in what happens in our government, that we can have a voice, and that it's not just about what the king wants and what the king thinks, but that we have an opportunity in this country and in this community to participate in the government and what happens. So I just felt like that was a good lesson for us to remember, that even though things don't always go the way we want them to go, our voice isn't always heard the way we think it ought to be heard, but at least we have that opportunity to present our opinion and to let everybody know who we are and what we want and what we're about. And that doesn't happen in a lot of other governments, so I appreciate that. Okay, I'll offer a prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be here tonight. We're grateful for the opportunity to participate in the things that are happening in Centerville City. We're grateful for the chance that we have to have a voice and to represent our neighbors and friends that live around us. We pray that Thy Spirit will be with us here, that the things that we say and do will be helpful and beneficial to the city and of Centerville and to those that live here. And we pray for Thy blessing to be with us now, and say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. If you'll all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, everybody. I really appreciate the diehards that are here again.
Yeah.
No, I truly do. We are going to move into what is called a public meeting, not a public hearing, for the general plan amendments on the comprehensive general plan update. This is a legislative decision. Staff, do you want to start with any summary or kind of procedural history up to now?
Yeah,
Or should
just a couple of quick things to note, so that this is a continuation of the discussion we've held at the last two meetings. As directed at the last meeting, the public commentary was provided and allowed to be provided up until December 4th. Per discussion with the chair, we did have one comment come in after the 4th, and the direction was to not include it.
Right,
Discussion with
like,
planning commission previously.
and honestly, I felt like we had said what we said and we were going to do what we said. And so if it comes in after, I didn't think that it came in under the wire, sort of like Indiana Jones. Now, that does not to say that, I mean, it's not a lost cause by any stretch, but for this forum, for our decision-making, it didn't meet the criteria.
Okay.
And I directed you to do that, so.
And then I do,
That's a fair question. So for the record, question from the audience as to whether or not we can close the door because there's people outside. We prefer to leave the door open because it's a public meeting. But what we can do is, if we could ask somebody to go outside and ask them to use their 12-inch whisper.
Are the mics on?
Yeah, how are the mics? Do you guys want to come forward? Because the acoustics in here are such that it's always been really hard to hear.
Better hear them there, you can hear it better coming down.
Fair enough,
Good.
fair enough. And I could talk better into the mic.
Yeah.
As a continuation, does that help a little bit as well? Okay. As a continuation, I have provided, backing up, we did receive a version 2 draft per the consultant. I did provide the comments that were provided by the Planning Commission at our last hearing as far as edits, changes, and I guess noted issues. Those were provided and updated, so that second draft is what is included in the packet as well as provided to you after I received that. So that is another update. And then I am also currently going through my own personal detailed draft of the second draft document, and will provide that commentary to our consultant of things I still see, as well as I have received comments from members of the public identifying some inconsistencies with numbers, and have also shared that information with the consultant who has done an update. So I guess I do have another version I just got yesterday that I haven't provided, but it's version 2.1. It has some population numbers that needed to be updated to be consistent, so I will note that.
What else besides the numbering that you can think of?
I had a conversation today per some comments that I received relative to the numbering in the table of contents as far as the chapters.
Sure.
There's a chapter issue in the table of contents. I have talked to the consultant about that today. In the table of contents, there's a logo where chapter 1 should be, and then the numbering is just off, so that will need to be fixed as well. And then it does align with the statements at the bottom of each page as far as which chapter they're in, but that has been caught.
So I want to make sure that I'm understanding the edits that you're examining and could potentially propose don't have to do with substance or content. It's more
No.
about formatting and scrivener's errors.
Accuracy, there's a few scrivener's errors. I'm still finding like a "the" that shouldn't be there. There's like a hash mark in the wrong place. There's a lot of that kind of, yeah, there's nothing that, I would not address anything of substance.
Yeah, I
It's-
just want to, and
No, it's a fair question.
you understand why I'm
Yeah. Oh,
asking.
yeah.
It's because whatever motion we make should
Yeah.
make sure that we're delegating minor
Yeah, and
corrections.
I mean, I've made it to page, I've read up to page like 78
Yeah.
of the document, but I have, again, it's mechanical errors. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, mechanical errors. There is one note, I guess, of substance relative to the active transportation plan. The city has not formally adopted the active transportation plan, and it does not indicate that in the document, so that is something, I guess, substantially that I would indicate to our consultant.
Anything else?
Resolution of a map.
You also mentioned that the map was on a different page now because
There's,
of the-
yeah, there's a reference to the page to the left when really it's on a different page now. So those,
Yeah.
again, some of those kind of mechanical issues have been identified. Yeah.
Okay, but as for substance that you've identified so far, because we don't have an adopted transportation plan, the general plan as it currently is situated, probably needs some
I think a statement
adjustment.
identifying that that has not been formally adopted and accepted by the city needs to be included in the general,
Fair enough.
from my own opinion.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Eggett?
Not so far in my review, that's what I have.
Okay. So I'll take it back to the commission.
Oh, and I will note, sorry, Chairman, I will note that the commentary that we have received is following the general plan document in your packet, so the public has had access to that.
Right, we saw that. So we are now at the stage, and we've talked about this before, commissioners, but just as a reminder, as a refresher, under the statute, we're only required to have one public hearing. We have had multiples. Now we're at a public meeting where we're meeting in public but not hearing the public more than we have already just taken all of the commentary up until December 4th. And now it's just our time to deliberate. So I'm just going to open the floor and ask you guys what you think, and we can talk it through. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll jump in.
All right, Vice Chair.
Okay, I read every word of all the comments that came in.
Just once?
Actually, only one time.
I'm
this
joking.
time. I know, you know me. So, I really appreciate public comment, I really do. It was very thoughtful, they spent a lot of time on it. They're passionate about it, and I love that, I think that's super important. Like, I'm just saying, for example, Nancy's words and how she redlined and blacklined and all the things that she did were important, I think so. I think it was all important. I agreed with all of it except for her bottom paragraph at the bottom of page 20. I didn't agree with that. But the rest of it I agreed with. I would think there would be some, maybe just little changes like possible word or grammar or punctuation or something. But in her notes, so I'm not sure what this will say on the bottom of page 20.
20 of
Of her
20
document?
of, it's chapter 20, let's see.
you mean
I-
chapter 20? Or,
Chapter, is it chapter? In her notes. In her notes, it's a red paragraph talking about the housing on the other side of the freeway. So that's the only thing that I actually disagreed with. But I think that all of that information needs to be looked at again and more thoroughly. I think that this is a good basis. I think it's a great starting point, but I would agree that it needs a lot of help and adjustment. I think fine tuning would be the better thing to say.
Right.
One other thing that she said that I think that we talked about before, but I don't know if any decisions were ever made, or maybe I'm just a little confused. But on the west side, that there's a west north and a west south, and she was talking about defining that as far as what's going to happen with housing and land use. I thought that that was a great idea. I don't know if that's something that's already in place. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought and appreciated the time and effort that every single individual who went through it and took the time to actually read it sent in their notes. I found it to be really, really helpful. So I guess all of that being said, it just goes back to, I think that this is a good basis, but it really needs to be fine-tuned for our city and for our citizens. I don't agree with some things that are in here as currently written. What are you going to say, Gary?
I was going to agree with you. I feel like the participation of the citizens, all the comments that were made are valuable and need to be considered. And what my hope is that we can forward the plan to the city council with all the comments and say, you need to look at this and see which of the things you want to incorporate. Because obviously, every comment that was made doesn't need to be incorporated. There were a lot of good comments, there were a lot of things that needed to be considered, and a lot of things that could be added or changed in the general plan. And I think that's the job of the city council, is to decide which of those things should be included, which changes need to be made in conjunction with the comments that we've received.
Right, because we're recommending board.
Right.
yeah, and I will also jump in there. Like, we don't want to forward something that's half-baked. We want to make sure that we're well past the threshold that we feel is ready for consideration for that legislative body. And I see today's question, honestly, I see today's question as, are we at a spot where we're at a tipping point where it ought to go to the legislative body for consideration? Or is there enough here in front of us that we ought to be shouldering the pickaxe and starting to chip away more? And I don't think that we're at that spot. I think we're at a spot where I actually kind of share Gary's thought that there's enough of a difference of opinion branching off into different directions from here that if we were to start to winnow, I would worry that we would winnow out things that may be disagreed with at the upper level. That's why I think that it should be forwarded, but not with the recommendation to adopt as is.
Oh, no.
Yeah, simply with a recommendation to say, here are all the comments that were brought in. Here are some areas that need some of your review and deliberation. And then I will also say that I think we should forward it with a recommendation that staff be delegated with some mechanical remedying powers. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Sorry, did I step on the end of your thought period?
No, my head's always going. You're fine. No, I agree with what you said. I also agree with what I said.
Good.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
No, but I think that at this point, the city council needs to make the decision because we're just a recommending board. But we've hashed and rehashed, but I don't know that it's actually at the point that it should be sent to them. They're gonna be in the same boat that we are. I mean, it's kind of a, who's gonna do that?
We could try. If that, I mean, let's talk the spectrum of theoretical possibilities. We could have a work session done in the public eye, but not where we're taking public comment, where we as a group start to vote page by page for things that we think should be incorporated, and we come up with an absolute recommended, this is the language that we think that you ought to adopt, dear city council. We could come up with, here's options A, B, and C. We could forward it as, and so that's on one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, and I would say that there are gradations in between. We could say, listen, we have a bulk document as a framework for you. We have had multiple meetings, lots of different comments, and there's a diversity of opinion about different things that should happen, including a number of really detailed red lines that you could consider. And so that's the other end of the spectrum, as I see it, just talking theoretics. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that we're on that side of we need to dig in more and start to refine the language rather than forward the multiple options as it stands.
I'm
Is that
more
fair?
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that because I think that there are a lot of changes. I don't know how much time city council will put into it. I have no idea. I don't know how they do that process. Since we're the recommending board, we usually send things over to them and they can tweak it a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'll defer to council, but it's my understanding, Lisa, that they have 100% of everything that we could do, they could do.
Oh, yes, and they have the ultimate decision, and they'll have a public hearing as well, multiple public hearings like the city council level.
So can we ask an opinion of you?
What?
Can we ask your opinion? Can you give us an opinion? You can tell me if you're gonna say no or not, but, so, is this something that, as a commission, that we should delve into more, or is this something at this point that the city council is responsible for?
So Lisa,
I don't know.
I feel like as chair, I may want to handle that, but I'll let you chime in if you'd like to.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, so I would say that it's our ultimate responsibility and that we can't ask staff for their recommendation.
I
We can-
can't
No,
ask you?
I would say that it's ultimately, we are responsible for that decision. I think that we can ask staff for what are our legal contours, what are our obligations, how we stay within the lines of our ordinances, how do we make sure we do this so that we're protecting it for due process. But the judgment call, as I see it, of whether or not it's baked, that's for us.
It's definitely not baked, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, but I say it is.
Say it's not,
Okay. No, but I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to put Lisa in the awkward position unless I've misunderstood the question. It sounded like you were wondering whether or not she would recommend it move forward. Am I misunderstanding the question?
Well, I'm wondering if it's our responsibility to continue doing this, or if it's the city council's. I mean, for
And I
where
do-
we're at.
I do agree with the chair that ultimately it's within the planning commission's discretion to answer that question. I've seen it done both ways, you know, like we've said, the planning commission worked for months and months on a parking study and the council didn't adopt it, you know, so it goes both ways, and I think that there's a difference of opinion, obviously, on the planning commission, and so that's why, yes, I would be hesitant to weigh in on you know, advising you what to do in this situation. I think you can do either way.
Fair.
So in terms of what I'm hearing, Lisa, is that we have within the realm of our possibilities, all of those, and then it's just for us to make that decision one way or another as a group. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
I'm terrible at like speaking if I don't have a script in front of me. So I've written a little thing. I'll probably go off and be on a tangent and be weird, but I just kind of want to make it like really clear to everyone, like, so a general plan, it's a high-level policy guide. It's not a zoning map. It doesn't have any binding commitment to the city. Nothing in here is anything the city has to do. There's no like specific development that has to happen. It just gives the city a direction, but it does not predetermine every decision that we're going to make over the next 20 years. We've had more than a year of surveys. We've talked about this. We've had workshops, public outreach, and professional drafting. I, like you have all said, truly appreciate all of the feedback that has come in. I think that I personally believe that a lot of the suggestions have gone a little bit too far, and we have started to see a lot of work that's been done by professionals, by our staff, by the company we hired, that it's being undermined, and changes to like policy language based on misunderstandings about what the general plan does or does not require further prevents us from doing our job. So similarly, I am of the opinion that we do need to move this forward, just because I think that going through it with more of a fine-tooth comb and all of those things is just unnecessary, because it's not what this document is for, if that makes sense. Like, just because it's in here doesn't mean we have to do it. It's just a guide. It's basically, general plans are basically just so, and I was kind of talking about this earlier, so that the state can see that we have an idea of where we might head, so that we are all on the same page, essentially. So that's my opinion. I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. I'm nervous. I don't like speaking.
No, that was great. I just have one comment to go along with that, and I think that a lot of the comments did mention that it felt like the general plan was sort of predetermining some things that should happen, and that it would maybe lead to that this means that we should rezone this area because we're going to do this, or we feel like this can happen here. And so I felt like some of the language needed to be changed, tweaked a little bit to say that, you know, this doesn't necessarily assume that we're going to change the zoning in this area. That would still have to come before the city council make a zoning change, or the planning commission and the city council. So I feel like maybe some of that language needs to be refined in places. But again, it's, like you said, it's just a general guiding document. We don't need to assume that just because we say this could happen here, that means, oh, it's going to happen, right? And that means that the zoning is going to be changed because of that.
Yeah.
That's
I have no problem with the grammatical edits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. However, whether we make the edits or not, it's not going to make a difference as to
Right.
how the city's next 20 years happens. So that's why it just feels very unnecessary at this point.
Well, I would disagree a little bit with that, because it feels like there's some strong language in there that people are concerned about it. Like, for example, one example, we will, or this will, happen. And if you're not on the planning commission or the city council, or you're working for the city, as just a general member of society, you wouldn't know that doesn't mean an absolute. So, I mean, to me,
And some of those changes were made already in the second.
Right.
In the second draft. They did soften a lot of that
Quite a bit.
language.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And that was better.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I make it clear, like, I'm totally cool with making those changes. I'm just saying, like, to continue to just comb through all of that type of stuff seems unnecessary at this point, so,
I know it would be a lot.
yeah.
It would. Sean, I know you have thoughts.
I do.
along the lines of what Lane is thinking in regards to, I feel like there's been a lot of time and money spent on this particular plan, and and there's been revisions, and I really appreciate the feedback, and there's been some really good things, and I've gone through and kind of noted some things that I think we ought to do, but at the same time, I don't want to undermine SOMAS and all the work that they've done and all of the feedback that the city has given in regards to the goals that we produced were based off of the what was it, the general feedback of the city, and kind of going through that, I feel like forwarding it on to the city council is kind of where I lay right now.
And I'll jump in and I'll say that I'm sort of in the same realm in terms of conclusion with you guys, but I'm actually more in your position when it comes to the importance of the general plan. I mean, there are times where the general plan can be used to deny proposals to specific actions that are being proposed by a developer, right? A developer comes in and says, hey, I want to put a road through here, and we look at the general plan and we say, we never planned for that, sorry. So it's more important than, oh, it's just a general plan, but it's less binding than, it's a general plan, right? So I don't mean to be too sarcastic, but it needs to be flexible enough and also detailed enough to cover those bases. And the trouble as I see it is that there are a couple of issues at this point where I don't think that we're going to necessarily reach consensus here, and we're probably not going to mirror the consensus that will be reached there. You guys know my tone and tenor about things. I don't have the same view on real estate development that I would say that others do, and perhaps at the city council level, but that's not my ultimate decision. My ultimate decision is as a commissioner who's been here for a good par of years with also some experience in a career that sort of helps and informs the constitutional rights that are associated with land use, the legal contours, the legal process that people need to go through, the way that attorneys creatively both use the general plan for and against development. I look at this and I say, this is a pretty darn good document, even if it were in the second draft only. Now, the red lines that have come in have the benefit of what I would say is recency. So there's primacy and recency bias, right? So you can be taught that, like when you're talking to a jury, you want to either say things first or you want to say things last for the primacy or the recency bias. We've done a lot of work and we've received a lot of feedback, and it went into, in terms of primacy, the creation of that document. Now we have comments, and that's recent. So they have a recency bias. We could start to dig in, and as the five of us decide, you know what, I like these recent comments, taking into account the fact that there may be some recency bias, or that in fact it is the right position to come to, colored by our own experiences and understanding of things. I look at this, however, having done a process like this a number of times over the last, how long have I been here, 7 years? Something like that, that just get completely unraveled at the city council level. And there are other ones where we wrangle and wrangle and wrangle and wrangle, and it just sails through. I would like to send this now as it is. The reason being is that I think that their color, their opinion, their understanding of things is not going to map one-to-one, even if we were to work through these positions and either come to a consensus or forward it with a lack of consensus. I would rather preserve the options and allow the city council to dig in. Although, arguing it on the other side, we shouldn't send them forward something that is so unassembled that it's like an IKEA box, right? Yeah. With these really vague instructions, and I love their hieroglyphics. Using a bad analogy and making it worse, I think that we've assembled the IKEA box, and maybe we're just talking about some of the final steps. Decorating, but even just like assembling the drawers or determining, you know how some IKEA things you can determine like which side things go on. Or even like a fridge you can take off the door and decide which way it swings. I feel like that's where we're at. But, you know, I mean, Lorraine, you and I we're on different spots on the spectrum. And so I will be the first to readily admit that you might be right, that more work needs to be done here. I just don't land where you're at right now, I guess is what my point is. So, fair?
Well, the nice thing is you don't have to.
I know, it's nice,
It's
right?
free my choice, yeah. You don't have to.
No. But arguing for you, like, there's a lot of work that's been done, and maybe a great use of our time and avoiding sending it to the city council just to kind of punt. Maybe it would be great to have work sessions. Maybe it would to punt this, good for us to set this out to January. That is a rational and reasoned position. Anyways. What else, guys?
Yeah.
Well, I'm willing to put in the time and effort to do that. And maybe some people are tired of it, but I'm willing to do it. I feel like there are things in here, some comments, and I think that there are some tweaks that need to happen or should happen before punting it off. Not trying to rewrite the whole thing. I don't want to do that. It's not our job. I think we've got a really good basis, but it just needs to be fine-tuned a little bit more. And not like every word, every detail, but there are some very valid points in there.
How about this? What if we were to say, and maybe this is an unfair question on the spot, do you have specific sections or areas that if for some reason we wanted to say, listen, dear city council, we want to narrow your focus on areas that need a lot of work? Or we want to say that, listen, we think these areas are fine, but these ones are the ones that, I don't know, I guess, is there a middle ground where we could say, yeah, forward it, but not just forward it, take a look and tell us what you think. Here, forward it, but here are some very specific areas or categories or conditions or edits that we think you really ought to be considering.
Yes, but without having notes to that. I mean, I would say, yes, Main Street, Parish, West Side North, West Side South. Also the numerical order of importance in regards to questions that were asked and how they were answered, and how, is it SOMAS, is this how you say it? How they put it in different orders than it actually was. So off the top of my head, not trying to miss anything, not being completely inclusive, that's what I would say off the top of my head.
Right, no, and that, and again, I recognize that's a hard answer, that's a hard question to answer like right away, right?
Do my best.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And just a thought, I mean, I'm totally willing to consider the document and try to incorporate some changes into it. I'm just wondering how far we would go. I mean, what are we trying to come up with? I agree that there are definitely some changes that need to be made. And again, I'm like you, I don't know exactly what those are. I've read all the documents, all the comments, and agreed with some and not with all, obviously. But I guess my question is, if we did a work session, what point would we like to get to, and where would that take us? Would it still be a document that was, I mean, I guess we don't know the answer to that the city council would just say, well, we've got to, you know, it still needs a lot of work, and it probably would. I mean, I don't know. That's probably not even a good question.
So you're just wondering how far we would take it?
Yeah, right.
If we would do nitty-gritty, or if we would just
Yeah.
do basic bullet points of.
Right. Would we just say, these are some areas that we need to that you should consider, or would we try to fine-tune the document ourselves?
I think that's a good question. I think since we're not the voting board, you know, we're not the board that gets to decide, the deciding board, that I would probably send in the bullet points of, I think this should be changed to this, or consider this to this.
Right.
Not every word,
Right.
but things that,
So
So we
send the
never-
document similar to the way it is, but just with suggestions about specific areas that need to be reconsidered or reevaluated.
probably, that's what I'm gonna give you on that one.
Yeah, well, and I mean, that's the way I'm feeling, but I wasn't sure if that's the way you were feeling. You know, I think that that's a valid position. I think that's a good way to approach it. But if we did that, then we probably would need a work meeting to consider what those items were.
Remembering, of course, that at work meetings, we're not taking decisions.
So then we'd have to do a work meeting, and then we'd have to put it on the agenda again to pass through yeah.
That's right. That's right. And we would have to make sure that we're voting. Let me say it this way. Let's say that we go through in a work meeting, page by page by page by page, and we have differences of opinion. We would just simply be noting that, and then we would make a decision in a public meeting and take votes there. Did I cut you off? Did you?
No, no, I was done with where I was going, but.
I'm happy to end the discussion and call for a vote, but I don't want you to feel like I'm truncating the conversation. Let's sit in silence if we need to. And anybody who wants to talk can. Or you guys can tell me it's time to take a vote. What would you like?
Well, what are we taking a vote on?
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm going to call for a vote. I'm going to call for a motion. Whoever wants to make a motion, we'll call for a second, we'll debate it, and then we'll call for a vote. What I'm saying is that if we're at a phase now where we've sort of, everybody's talked out and raised their major concerns, is it now time to move to that phase, or do you guys want to sit here and maybe chat more? I want to allow
I'm
the.
okay for the motion.
Okay.
Well, Sean's looking to make a motion, but I'm also thinking about motion.
Okay, that's fair. We can have competing motions for sure. I am going to call for a motion.
In my legal speak, I'll go.
Okay.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we have a work meeting where we can fine tune this and incorporate some of the very valid and important points of change and consideration. Is that all I have to say? Am I done, or do I have to say more? I don't know what I have to say.
I'm not going to tell you when you're done.
No, but do I have to add more legally? I don't know.
No, I think that's fair. So if I understand the motion that's on the table, where Vice Chair Larray Patterson is saying you move that rather than forward this with a recommendation, that we table this or continue this to a date certain, and that in the interim, we schedule a public work meeting to fine tune and incorporate the valid and important comments that have been raised to basically generate a third version.
Yes.
Okay, I have that motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'm not going to guilt anybody. I may look at you, but
That's
I'm not going
okay.
to guilt anybody.
No, that's okay. These are always the fun parts, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give it a couple more seconds. So I have a first but no second. The motion fails on the table.
I made it. It's
Yeah.
okay.
No
I
worries.
stand by it.
And as you should, just
I-
like I did on my adverse vote last time.
Never.
It's now, we're still at the phase for motions.
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve the,
Forward with a
forward with a
positive.
recommendation to the city council regarding the proposed general plan amendments. specifically for the proposed Centerville City Comprehensive General Plan update documentation with advice given from us as a planning commission. And other legalese that needs to be in there.
Okay, so can we workshop that?
Yes, let's do.
What do you guys think should be added to that motion? And I know this is a little unorthodox, but there's a lot that's happening here. First of all, I would probably say that the motion should say the version, as a baseline, the version that was most recently returned by the consultant, and then as potentially mechanically modified by city staff.
I can agree with that.
Okay. What else?
Well.
What do you think?
It kind of goes against my thing, but.
Yeah, no.
But with solid recommendations that we have of like bullet points of concern. But is that something we're going to agree on tonight?
Not necessarily, but here's what I'm going to say. Let's develop a motion. Let's find out if there's a second, and then let's look for either friendly or adverse amendments. And that could be a friendly or an adverse amendment. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay. So I have a motion on the table that we forward with a positive recommendation, the general plan amendments as returned to us from, most recently from the consultant, delegating that in the interim, staff can make mechanical adjustments, as discussed earlier in the meeting. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Me,
Yes.
that if that's what's going to happen, because I'm obviously going to be outvoted, that we, numbers read the room, but that we send it with these recommendations of concern, that they really look at these things.
So let's get into the record, and this is why I asked you this earlier, because I think this is a really wise decision. Let's try to walk through some of those and put them into the motion and make them specific. And I know you did it earlier, now I'm putting you on the spot again.
Well, for example,
Yeah.
Main Street, Parish Lane, the west side, west north, west south. I said something else.
Did you talk about the economic hubs, the town centers, or am I just imagining?
Oh, no, but yes, that's one, the town centers. Mhm. And by Main Street, I mean, like, what can happen on Main Street, right? So all of that encompassing building, not building, heights, keeping it historic, not allowing big buildings, big box stores, et cetera. If I could go back and look at all the notes, I could give you all of the fine points right now, but off the top of my head. That.
Gary, did you have any other?
Oh, and the numbers.
Yeah,
Like,
well, so the mechanical adjustments, the numbers that need to
no,
be
no,
changed.
no, no,
Oh.
not the numbers like that, but like how the citizens actually voted.
Oh,
Those did not come across accurately. Those are inaccurate. So, for example, if out of the 413 votes or whatever it was, the number one thing that kind of came across should be the number one thing addressed by the citizens.
I
So
see what you're saying. I still find those to be mechanical, is what I would say. Those are
you consider that
correct.
mechanical?
Well, yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
change the content. It just needs to be, reflect fact,
Okay,
right? So like, for example, if a table is on the wrong side, that's mechanical. If the number that is being reported in this document was inaccurate, it will be corrected to be accurate.
or the importance, the same thing, the importance of the citizens, if this is their number one point, that needs to be listed as number one point.
I would,
And two,
yeah, I would
because
consider
it is
that
not.
mechanical. You're talking about, let's actually discuss that a little bit,
Okay.
can we? You're talking about on
To the
page
appendix, right?
173 of 288? Is that what we're talking about?
Are you in the actual general plan, or is that the?
I'm in the Planning Commission packet, page 173 of 288 Main Street.
okay.
Is this what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, that is
So
exactly what I'm
then let's
talking
just do it
about.
this way. Let's say that page 173 of 288 in the commission packet, which has to do with chart B, be evaluated appropriately. And if scrivener's errors or mechanical errors need to be performed, then staff can do it. But if it has to do more with substance, that the city council take a jaundiced eye, or maybe a weathered eye, whatever eye they want to take.
Okay.
Never heard of that phrase before.
A jaundiced eye?
Jaundiced eye. I have not either.
Nerd.
Did you say nerd?
Yeah, I did. That's what my kids said. Dad, you're such a nerd. Yes. Okay, so incorporating Chart B in that recommendation for a closer look.
Is there any way, so I'm just going to ask, can we go kind of at the beginning, since this is the point where we're at, and have you scroll pretty rapidly through here?
Do you want to just use my laptop so that
Yeah.
you can do it on your own?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that we can't do it together, but it might be, so let's just let you drive. So here's what's happening for the record. I have the packet up, and I've handed it over to Lorraine, and she's going to go through the amendments to the general plan to hopefully generate her, let's call it friendly amendment, I don't know what we're going to call it, proposed amendment to the motion that's on the table.
With her jaundiced eye.
With her,
No,
their
without the
jaundiced
jaundiced
eye.
eye.
The other thing I would say is maybe housing, reconsider some things about housing and density and those recommendations.
Yeah, I didn't love that in here.
Yeah. Because I agreed with a lot of the comments by the public about that it was kind of steering it toward higher density when that may or may not have been the intent, but it seemed like it was.
I agree, the verbiage in there
Yeah.
tends to drive you to that.
So while you're coming up with the categories, I'm going to, maybe if I could, Vice Chair Patterson, join you in crafting this proposed amendment to the motion. Sound good? So let's set aside the categories that we're talking about. As I understand it, what you're asking us to do is that in the motion that is being forwarded with a positive recommendation to the City Council, that we say to them, listen, there are specific categories where the comments that came in, both written comments in the most recent tranche, but also verbal comments that were provided over the last couple of meetings, raise specific issues that need to have your legislative eye consider broad policy considerations, because those comments raised a spectrum of possibilities
Yes.
that we as a planning commission want you to weigh in on. And they are specifically Main Street, Parish, West Side, West North South, town centers, Chart B, affordable housing, and then anything else we add. Is that a fair summary of what you're intending?
Yes, and
Okay.
do I have to do this right now before the vote has happened? Or
Yeah,
are you going to give me?
I mean, I want to make sure that we're reflecting your will and your voice. So if we need to take the time, let's take the time.
Turn on some music.
Jeopardy music? Or will that be too much pressure?
Christmas music.
Totally be too much pressure.
Gary, I want you to weigh in as well.
Yeah, and if,
I'm
and
looking.
I would urge the other commissioners, if you feel that this is something that you feel you want to join in on. While you're doing that, Lorraine, I'm going to say this. Personally, I think that we don't necessarily need to identify these things. And indeed, many of the proposed amendments that came in from the public, I am on the side of the spectrum that they are either unnecessary or actually would create a problematic general plan. So while I will probably, Vice Chair, agree with you that these should be reevaluated, just from my perspective, the way that it lands, the spot that it lands in, the language that is particularly used, probably doesn't need to be amended in the ways that were proposed by a number of the comments. So, let me say it this way. A number of the comments were more about style.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
No.
But some of them were. And it was sort of like, hey, we want you, the planning commission, to rephrase this in order to create what we believe is a different vision from what is currently in this, which is why I mentioned the primacy versus the recency. No matter what I think that my experience on planning commission is that we have a diverse range of opinions, not only here, but in our populace. And I don't mean to delay you. I guess I'm filling
You're
time.
buying your time.
Yeah, I'm buying time.
Keep talking.
decision by committee rarely achieves consensus. And the consensus that we will reach here is going to be probably distinct from the town council. So that as we're forwarding these categories to the town council, I think that it's actually kind of a wise choice rather than to tell them what we think the final language ought to be. Because now they've got in front of them a consultant who does these things. They've got our commentary about it. They've got multiple commentaries on multiple areas that have style edits, content edits, factual edits. And I think that between all of that, I hope that they can arrive at their own consensus that then reflects, quote unquote, the will of the people. Because as planning commissioners, maybe I am being too blunt in this regard, but we don't reflect the will of the people in the same way the city council does, right? And that's.
Why do you say that? I'm not questioning, I'm
No, it's
questioning
fine.
because I'm wanting to understand.
We're not
what you
elected
mean.
officials.
Right, they're elected officials.
Yeah,
are
we're
not.
appointed officials.
Right.
We don't reflect the will of the people.
How do you think that they do?
They're elected.
So,
The people chose them. The
Yeah.
people didn't choose us.
They're stuck with us.
they're stuck with us, sorry, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're stuck
And
with us, but they
Th-
don't
this
always
is-
vote the will of the people,
No, they
though.
don't, and that's why it's really
why I'm
important
asking.
that let me say it this way, they don't have to be beholden to the will of the people. The will of the people are there to check them if they go so far that during an election, they then vote them out of power. That doesn't happen with us. The way that it happens is that they vote the board or the town council out of power, or have a change of mayor, and the mayor says, you know what? You have either hit your term, or we're going to reconsider your position. And there are rules and procedures for that to follow. The reason, and this is the way I see it, right? Keep going, I'm sorry to divert you. And we're ranging a bit afield, so I'm gonna cabin us.
No, keep going.
But it's all relevant to what I see as the general plan. Sometimes the general plan has to lead out in areas that are not necessarily popular. And that's why we have two levels. We have a planning commission that doesn't necessarily have to reflect the popular vote. And then you've got a town council that does.
Okay, so I get what you're saying better, thank you.
Planning Commission, can I ask just real quick?
Yes, Mr.
As
Egan.
you're adding a list, do I have then, well, I guess, are we including with this commentary, the conversation about the substantive change to the active transportation plan? knowing
Yeah,
that it has
I was
not
gonna
been
get there.
adopted?
That's a
Okay.
great question.
Okay.
So
Yeah, good idea.
I wanted to get vice chair to a spot.
Okay, I
Her-
apologize then.
No, don't apologize. It's good as a reminder. So I want vice chair to get to a motion where she feel like she can make the motion
Okay.
and then have the content appropriate, and then we'll find out if there's a second.
Okay,
In that, it is my intention that if that doesn't pass, that maybe we do another amendment where we say, listen, there is a specific area with the transportation element that probably needs to be modified.
okay, that sounds great, thank you.
Do you want the mouse? I didn't give you the mouse.
Oh, I'm good, thank you, this is fine.
Not a problem.
So Chair, are you saying that the prior motion or motions have been withdrawn?
No,
You're
I'm
looking for a
saying
new
that,
motion, or-
no, the first motion from vice chair failed on the table. The second motion from Commissioner Hoth is on the table with a second. We're now considering what I would call a potential amendment,
Okay, good, yeah.
and that she is developing her motion, and I'm giving plenty of space to do so. and
Motion
then-
to amend.
Correct.
Okay.
And then I will, when she's ready, call for whether or not there's a second. Is that fair?
Thank you.
And so, yeah, we're still in a public meeting, but is it okay, not to break quorum, but actually, can we pause the public meeting and then just wait for this? What would you prefer, what would you say is the better route? Just keep the public meeting going,
Yeah.
rather than
within
going to
reason.
recess? No, I
She
don't,
can make a motion to table or to continue or,
right.
you know.
Well, I want to give her the space to fill out these categories. I'm just wondering if, I've sort of already answered my question, thank you. We're going to just keep going.
So I would like to add,
Yeah.
so far, hillside definition and open space.
Okay.
That was another one I thought of. but-
And going back to housing, it just, that really needs to be looked at.
You felt that that needed significant work
Yes.
based on the commentary that
Whether
came
it's
in?
west side or otherwise, yes.
When you say housing, you're talking about affordable housing, or are you talking
Not just
density?
affordable, both.
Okay.
Both. So, for clarity on Main Street, I feel like, based on comments and also what I felt from the very beginning, so personal opinion and public comment, that it's always been driven to change Main Street. I feel like that's really being pushed or has been pushed the whole time. And so that needs to be talked about, pushing that, why.
So as part of your motion, you're saying that, that in your opinion, the general plan has too much of a focus on modifying Main Street as opposed to a plan that perhaps preserves more features of Main Street?
Exactly what you just said.
Okay, got it. You're developing quite the motion, Lorraine.
Yeah.
I can't wait for somebody to write this down. Is it gonna be you, Sid, or is it gonna be Jennifer?
Most likely, it's gonna be a mix between Mike and Jennifer.
I cannot.
Or AI.
Yes.
How about this? Once we get to a spot, I'll try to articulate it for you.
You will, you always do. I have a question for the commission. So one of the things I told you, I disagreed with Nancy's comment on the bottom of page 20, I believe, of her notes. And she had mentioned not having housing over there on the west side. That's not something that we agreed upon. Is that for personal? That's personal. Okay. Right, I do not agree. I just want to make sure I wasn't overlooking something here.
I will say you blasted through this. You're in the appendix.
Dude,
Nice work.
I'm a mom. I got this. I've got 6 kids. I can go through stuff. Plus, I already read it before, so I'm just sort of perusing. I am sure that I'm missing some things, but in my head, the things that I've already addressed are the things that I recall. Those are the things that came
Okay.
back to me.
Let me try to articulate where we're at, and then I'll try to articulate your motion to amend. There's a current motion on the table with a second to forward with a positive recommendation. The amendments, as it came to us in the second round from the consultant, along with a delegation between now and when it appears for the city council, that mechanical changes can be made by staff, and those are things that we've discussed earlier, but they're pretty much things like formatting, scrivener's errors, factual remedying that is clear on its face, logos, stuff like that. Now, we have a motion on, so that was firsted and seconded, whatever. There is a motion currently being crafted on the table where the recommendation be modified such that there are specific categories being called out, and that these categories be emphasized such that the city council needs to take a more fine-tooth comb rather than weathered eye. How's that sound? Yeah.
Wonky eye, yes.
And those categories include, for example, that on Main Street, it appears that the general plan as currently drafted appears to encourage modifying Main Street instead of preserving its features. That the Parish Lane area, that the current phrasing in the general plan with regards to Parish Lane needs to be reevaluated, especially in light of recent verbal and written comments.
Yes.
That the west side, north and south also be reevaluated because the general plan may not necessarily conform to what, no, let me say it this way, that the west side be reevaluated in light of the recent comments, verbal and written,
Yes,
okay? That the town centers be reevaluated in light of that commentary.
yes,
That Chart B make sure that it's conforming to fact and organizational structures that are true.
yes,
All right. That the housing, both in density and affordable housing, be reevaluated in light of the commentary.
yes,
And that the hillside definition and open space areas of the general plan be reevaluated with a more fine-tooth comb.
yes.
Okay. What else? Is
You're
there,
hired, man. You're hired.
is there anything else that I can add to that?
Not that stuck out to me.
Fair enough. So
Very-
I have,
No, that included everything. that
I have
we
a
had.
motion to amend on the table. Do I have a second to support it?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to amend. So the vote that's going to now be called for is whether or not we agree, not with the overall amendment, but whether or not we agree to amend the current motion that Commissioner Hoth has on the table. Does that make sense? Okay. So, or before that, yes,
Do you
go
want
ahead.
to just add the active transportation, or was that a different issue?
You know, I was thinking of another motion, but that's a great point. It definitely could be added here. So as
Add it.
okay, so as I understand it, in addition to that motion, staff has identified a problem where the general plan appears to state that we have a valid and adopted transportation plan, which is not true. And so therefore, the substance of the plan needs to be modified so that it reflects reality, that the transportation component of the general plan is basically being applied in a way that as soon as we develop that transportation plan and it's adopted, perhaps it can conform to the general plan, and or vice versa. That's a lot.
Yeah, so the history, you know more than I do, but the ATP has been completed, just never was accepted or adopted by Centerville.
Right.
And neighboring communities have adopted it.
Right. So therefore, the city council needs to reevaluate the transportation portion of this plan to make sure that it conforms to reality.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is now what's on the table. And we're going to vote on whether or not we want to amend the current motion, and then we would then vote on the motion itself. Sound good?
Including the amendment.
Including the amendment.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
I'm going to start down here.
So this is just on the amendment.
Whether or not you agree to allow the amendment to the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. I know.
Mason.
I know, right? Okay, so that motion carries. Now what is on the table is pretty much everything I just said.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And again, reading the room, I'm going to call a vote. We know where this is going to go.
Read the room, man.
How about I start down here?
For the motion that
This
I
is for the
initially
motion to
presented.
forward, yes,
And
to
the
forward with a positive
amendment.
recommendation. With the amendment. So we're basically saying to the city council, if I'm rephrasing it, hey, city council, this has a positive recommendation, but you know what? You need to
Here's
dig
some
in
things
on
you need to
these,
look at.
on these categories.
Okay.
and before we take the motion, I'm probably going to vote against it for the reasons I've noted. But just for clarity, what I think is that I don't necessarily agree with the comments. I think that the comments go too far. And so I'm going to vote against this probably. But it's because, not because I'm saying that no, it doesn't need to happen. It just needs to happen less than what I think that people will read into that. That vote, I feel like, is saying that it needs to be redone. I don't. I think that the framework that we've been given by the professional consultant does a really good job. It's like 98% for me. And for some, it's like 60%,
Maybe.
right?
Yeah.
And so when we're forwarding this with a recommendation, I'm just saying no, because I think that this imputes or implies that there's a significant amount of work when I would disagree with that. That's why.
So you want me to give 5 minutes on my opinion now?
Yes, please. No, you should. Let's get it in your record, because it's important for the city council to understand sort of what we're recommending.
No, I appreciate what you're saying. You're really smart. I appreciate what you're saying. But I hold more weight with citizens. Like, that's really important to me. Opinions are really important to me. I think the document is good. Yes, we paid somebody. Is it great? No. I don't love it. I want to be able to love it. I want to love it. And I think with the amendments and them taking some time, I think they need to take some time on this puppy. Looking at it, then I think it can be something that we love. Not just me, but that the citizens can love and feel comfortable with.
That's the glory of our organization.
I know.
Okay, so do you want to start down here?
Sure.
That's like, I'm going to ask your permission to vote. We're going to start down here on the motion with the amendment.
With the amendment, aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that was a big sigh. All right, so the motion carries. This is being forwarded to the city council on those terms. We'll review the minutes
Yeah.
for the motion as written. Great job, guys. And thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, Lorraine.
Great job. Great job. Now, please don't leave. Stick around, because we're going to talk about landscapes.
It'd still be more fun.
And it's going to be changed in a way where, 2 months from now, people are like, I never heard about these changes. And so,
Yes.
anyways, I say that glibly, but let's go ahead and move on to business item number 2. Yes?
The clarification for the record, whose amendment motion was that? Who made the motion to amend?
Vice Chair LeRae, as voiced by Chair Kerr.
Seconded by Gary.
Yes.
Seconded
He was my interpreter.
by Councilman Woodward.
And then it
That's exactly right. That's how it went.
Fair?
Yes.
Now, if I could have voted in favor of the transportation component, I would, but it was all as a package deal. Joke. All right, let's move on. Business item number 2.
I accept your nay, it's fine.
Business item number 2.
Okay. So let me pull that up. So this one is a continuation, well, backing up, this is a public hearing item, just to note that. We have advertised this for public hearing. It's a continuation of the discussion we had on October 22nd, wherein we had a representative from Weaver Basin Water to answer questions and discuss water conservation practices and guidance from the state with the Planning Commission relative to landscaping and water conservation element. At the conclusion of that discussion with the Planning Commission and back and forth with Mr. Perry during that meeting, the Planning Commission gave direction to staff to work on updates to better address and reflect commentary with Mr. Perry, as well as set a public hearing. That revision has been provided in your packet and the advertisement for public established. I will note, as a side note, that's not in the packet, but it seems to be evidenced if you look at the recommendation, that the language in your packet is still not refined to a level where it feels ready to proceed any further. So if you look at, I've added a statement with the recommendation. It says, only after the Planning Commission agrees that the proposed amended language is ready to be directed for City Council consideration. So I think it's going the direction that seems to match our discussion, but I don't feel like I have all the answers with some of the language. I have provided this to our city attorney, Lisa Romney, as well, and I know she intends to look at it closer. There's some other areas within it that she may want to further discuss and address that have been consistent challenges with the landscaping ordinance over the years, even before my time working for the city. So I think there's going to be definitely more to it. The question that we've had internally that I'll share with the planning commission is how deep do we want to scrape at the other things that aren't the water conservation discussion things? I think that's kind of an interesting thing to think about and discuss.
Okay.
Do we focus solely on water conservation for now, or do we're considering looking at opening up the landscape ordinance, scratch at other elements of it? So that's something to think about, even though initially, obviously, it started out as a water conservation discussion. I'm not sure, well, I guess the only other thing I'll say is after the planning commission moves forward with the public hearing, I'm not sure how you want to go about discussing the updates and things that staff has provided in its edits and changes. In my mind, that seems like it might make sense, but it might be a little laborious to go through each and every one, but if you'd indulge me, I would be okay with doing that, so.
Well, I'll indulge you. I'm happy to, but do you have specific ones that you want to focus on? Or do you want us to open up our questions and then go from there? What would you say would be more efficient?
Well, I mean, if you're okay with me just getting it up front now before we go into public hearing, I can do that. It'd probably take me,
Let's do it.
7
Well, I
to
mean, we're
10
in a
minutes.
public hearing, so.
but you haven't had the actual public hearing itself, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
do
go
you want me
ahead.
to do that now, or do you want to have the public hearing and then me go into it?
No, I want to hear.
Okay, all right.
As part of your staff.
So then look at the document, that she has pulled up. So what quickly came to a head as even we discussed internally and as we heard what Mr. Perry said is, in our code, we don't have a definition for hardscape. We talk about all these variations, inorganics and rockscapes and this and that, but we don't have a definition for hardscape. And there's even other elements within the code and I guess backing up, there's other elements that talk about like hard surfaces. That's not to be confused with hardscape as it relates to landscaping. So let's make that real clear first. And if we need to go further and define that this is solely for the purposes of landscaping, were this to be established with that definition, we could do that. But what I brought into it was a definition that we had used in Riverdale when I was there. It seemed to work, but clearly we can modify it accordingly. So that's my first one. The next one is redevelopment. Redevelopment is one where, now this could have broader implications than just landscaping. Obviously, for the purposes of say like building improvement, site plan amendment type deal. I'm not sure that even 2,000 square feet would be the right number. Again, it's for the sake of commentary, but it would address, we're starting to go down that rabbit hole of what is redevelopment or new development versus already established pre-existing conditions, right? So that's my intent, at least there, to go down that discussion. Moving on then
Can
to.
we, before too far, 2,000 square feet is the area of the outdoor area that's being changed, or what?
It'd be like the size of the building alteration that's
Building
taking
footprint
place. Yeah,
specifically.
yes, that's
Got it.
correct, yeah,
Wait, can you be more specific on
yeah.
that?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to make sure was
Yeah.
clear, is whether or not, like if you're modifying, making significant modifications, and you add a wing or something, and it's over 2,000 square feet.
Right.
Then you're considered in redevelopment. But if you knock down a deck and then change your front strip, you're not. Unless it changes the building to a point where it's more than 2,000 square feet
Of
the
change.
building.
Correct.
Exterior alterations
Correct.
to the residence. We're not talking about, because yard space.
Or commercial or industrial structure.
Fair
as well.
enough, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
it's clear enough that this is not like the grass area.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's correct, yeah, it's structural, that's the
Right.
intent. And that's how it's applied in Riverdale, where I took this from. And then I've added, or I note, that there can be adjustments to the square footage, we could even clarify redevelopment and solely categorize it for commercial, industrial, type of uses as well, multifamily, et cetera. So there is some discussion to be had there. Anyway.
Sid, can you make this bigger, please? A little bit. Thank you.
The next one that's on the following page, that is not changed. That one was same with the next page. I did meddle with this page here. Go down to the next one. This one, yep. You can see there's some meddling there. This I had a little bit of a challenge trying to identify what does new development mean? We talked about it, we understand what it means, but when you're talking about a definitional application, what does that mean? Do we use a date? I mean, that's why I propose after year 2025, because I'm not quite sure what the best way to identify new development, but if we just broadly say new development, what is that? And do we have a benchmark of when that starts, right? So that's what I'm trying to determine. I'm not even sure if that's the right way to approach it, but I was trying to grapple with, okay, how would we even explain that?
Well, why would we need a year? Why can't we just say at the time of application?
Well, I mean, I guess as long as, yeah.
The-
Go ahead.
The time of application, so meaning that, let's say that an applicant applied already for housing to go in, but had not gotten their application approved by different staff. Do we want to say approved by staff, like application approved, or application applied by?
And I see,
That's another differentiating thing too.
Wouldn't vesting issues just deal with that?
yeah, I see what you're saying. If the code's in place, then any development that comes after the code's established would be bound by it.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Lisa?
Well, this was my initial question. I do think it's complicated. Because if you leave it as is, any new residential development after 2025, it makes it clear that, yeah, anything after that has to comply with this. But again, it's taking it out of the realm of what we typically see as a non-conforming use or vested rights. So does it mean that, hey, if I built my house in 2020, then I redevelop it, I'm never subject to this? Or is, anyway, I think it is complicated, but the way that at least Weber Basin seemed to interpret it is what Mike has put here, which is, oh, no, we just mean anything new, but
Yeah.
Well, then honestly, that's almost chaff, like having it in here or not having it in here has the same effect.
well, true, I guess.
But if it achieves clarity for the purposes that we've talking about with Weaver, then
Yeah.
fine.
I mean, typically, I like to rely on standard non-conforming use or non-conformity law and vested rights law, because there's already case law dealing with that. We understand it's in our code. So I think what we were trying to say is that this statute does not apply retroactively, which
Yeah.
it wouldn't.
Right.
It has to be a safety issue or something that would apply retroactively. So by adopting this with or without these changes, we would not be going back and saying everybody has to now meet these numbers. But I think another thing the Planning Commission was struggling with is, well, how much is development, like the deck or the pool or and again, the intent is, no, you're still not bringing it up to this standard. So,
And that's why I tried to do a definition of redevelopment.
yeah.
So can I throw a wrench into the gears? So don't we want some other of the, not necessarily this code, I would worry that quote-unquote redevelopment as deployed in other sections of the code, which we do want to be triggered upon certain acts, not necessarily be triggered here, and yet we're using very similar language across those chapters. That's a problem, right? And for example, like, can I use that example from Lisa maybe 4 years ago where the landowner tore down a deck and then came in for a deck permit, but because they had so much hard surface area, they had to what was it, hillside zone amendment?
It's a lot,
Yes.
a lot
It's a lot.
coverage standard.
Because that was considered a redevelopment in that sense, in that chapter.
Well,
Well, it wasn't a redevelopment, but doing what they wanted to do now.
Yeah.
Because the deck was gone.
Right.
Then it was a new application that didn't meet the code.
it's the lot
In
coverage.
place at the time of the
clearly.
application.
Correct.
So. But we can,
don't wanna
this is one of those
complicate
sections
things.
that I sort of want to spend more time on, and, maybe we can take the public hearing, and between this meeting and the next one,
Yeah.
Even the term redevelopment, I mean, we could define redevelopment as a definitional section within just the landscaping ordinance. But I still think there may need to be a definitional push more broadly within the zoning code for redevelopment. Maybe I'm scratching it too broad of an
Boy,
issue.
you are really just bringing a whole bunch in.
Maybe I am, but I think there's a need for clarity because it's hard sometimes for staff to know how to apply what redevelopment means. And you'll get developers that will come in and and I'm thinking more from a commercial industrial perspective now, well, I'm not redeveloping my building, I just want to add a wing to it. Well, you are, you're going to improve your site plan, it's going to change your stormwater, and it's going to do impacts to the site. Okay, well, how big is redevelopment?
Right. And it's different depending on what we're, yeah,
Right.
context, yeah.
But I would like the terms used in here to be just specific to, like, maybe we could just say substantial redevelopment, and substantial redevelopment only applies to this section, because I don't
Yeah.
want this term of redevelopment to apply to the entire code, because we
Correct.
have very different standards of redevelopment for stormwater, for
Big
site
problem.
plan, for
Right.
anything else. So this is really just a carve-out to help people feel comfortable with this and not impose it. But again, I don't think the law would impose it retroactively anyway.
Great.
I
Ms.
do
Deweese.
have one thing to say, that a lot of the code in zoning refers to substantial alterations, which is a little bit different, which it does call out by definition.
I like
So
that.
that is something that I highlighted that on the screen, so that might kind of resolve what you were addressing with the substantial, or what was it,
Just read.
Substantial redevelopment, yeah, I like that, that's.
So
Alterations
there
might
is,
work.
there is
Yeah,
a
I wanna,
difference.
I want to, I guess, I mean, yes. Moving
I
on.
just want to make that just a note.
The reason I put it in 1212, there
Yes.
is no definition section in landscaping, and maybe that's why I said
We
earlier,
don't?
maybe, no, maybe we need to create one, right? Because I thought about that too, well, do I create a new definitions section for landscaping, and we have like 4 terms?
Wait, so what
Well, we
about
do have it in,
1251-030?
030, where we just refer back to 12, but
Wait
I
till
think
we all
you
get
could
there.
say there, for purposes of this.
Yeah, that's why I was saying,
Certain words and phrases in this chapter are defined in 1212.
yeah.
Thanks.
And I guess that's what I'm getting at, like, so I was like, oh, well, if we're gonna use a method where we go back to 1212, then I have to put the definition in 1212.
Well, I
right?
suppose we could just say, in addition to the words and phrases, they're hereby further modified as indicated.
Well, and this definition only applies to this chapter.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want people going to this carve-out
Right.
for the rest of the code.
It becomes problematic.
So there's obviously something to think about and digest as we keep moving forward with this discussion. But then, let's see here.
Zoom down, sorry.
The bottom of that, I have a note, should we add stronger language or different language to communicate that we still want plantings in the lawn, non-lawn, non-turf areas? Please let me know if you have suggestions, ideas, et cetera, on wording for this expectation. So that's that statement that says, other plantings, preferably drought-tolerant plantings, are still allowed and expected to be planted within the non-turf and non-lawn areas of the property. What I was trying to get at is, there was a commentary made by the planning commission where we said, we don't just want it to be concreted in or
Right,
hardscape,
and
right?
rocks, we do not.
Right? And so I'm trying to address specifically that comment with that statement. I'm not sure that's the right way to say it, but that's what I'm trying to get at.
And also, I remember last time, we were talking about drought-tolerant plantings, but about height.
Oh, to not block line of sight?
Well, to not block line of sight, but can they have, I mean, just in places where I walk, people have taken out the grass and then put very random things and of
mean,
varying heights, like tall like trees, shrubs that
Think-
grow clear out in the street.
Do you know,
3
Lisa,
feet tall.
11.02, does it have height?
Are there any regulations for that?
Yeah, I think it's
it
limited to
does.
2 feet,
Yeah, I think
except
it
for the
does
mailbox, which
already.
is allowed to be like 42 inches.
Except I called the tree people, remember, in that new development I asked you about, do you remember? And they said, oh, they could have trees.
Oh, we allowed trees. It's just like boulders and things like that, or any other structures for visibility, but trees go up, and so they're not, you know,
But what about,
other than in the site triangle.
but okay, right, and I get that. But some of these trees that have been planted, not at the new development, but around the corner from it, are like massive shrubs that
Right.
some people call trees.
They should not be in that.
Right, so that's why I was wondering, do we have more specific, we didn't want to get into all the specifics of what you can and cannot plant, but I think that there should be a little bit more information.
That's why I'm wondering with 11.02, because that is your standards in your park strips and those sort of areas.
yeah.
So we would have to look deeper into that one to make sure that it doesn't capture what you're looking for, but I could certainly bring it back, because there are clear connections to 11.02 within this code.
It sounds like an enforcement issue.
And it could be an enforcement issue.
But people see people doing it, and it just keeps going.
So
And And we're complaint-based, so
Put
I
down the
guess,
hammer.
yeah, I was gonna say, I guess you'd have to file a complaint, Lorraine, on the ones you're seeing to get the word out that there's.
They're gonna know it was
You
you.
guys.
That is not gonna be me.
I know, but that's always the
That is not
problem.
gonna be me.
We don't have enforcement, right?
No.
Well, we do, it's just internally with community development, it's complaint-based.
Oh,
It's not a full.
And then if it's a streets issue though, our streets department will look at it initially and then give direction to community development how to proceed. Or they might themselves just address it, depending. They sometimes will do door hangers for like visibility and or accessibility issues and just take it on themselves.
But some trees have been taken out of
Yeah.
the site triangles, or if they're dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be the streets department that has addressed that program.
Well, let's maybe see what
Yeah.
staff comes up with. I think you've raised a valid point. We may want to micromanage, and I'm using that term deliberately, the kinds of standards that we want in these park strips, or we may want to rely on the existing ones, hoping that we can then use that as the enforcement mechanism, as opposed to having it here and hoping people are actually acting on their honor, et cetera, et cetera. I hear that's what you're kind of saying, is that if it's here, it's more clear, people will act appropriately.
Because sometimes people may come look.
Right.
Yeah.
And is there a thing about drought tolerant? Is that part of Weber Water's,
It says,
because it just says
Preferably.
preferably drought tolerant plantings, does it need to be more specific? Is that okay with Weber Water as far as preferably?
I mean, I think that they said they don't really care if it's hardscape or plants, but if the city would rather see plants, then that's what we
Okay.
try to
Okay.
state. We try to.
So in other words, we're saying you should plant drought tolerant plants, but if you don't want to, that's still okay, I guess?
It depends
As
on-
long as it's watered the way that Weber Water wants
It
you to
depends on
water
how
it.
far we want to go with it,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I mean, I don't know if we can go so far to say you have to plant plants in the park strip if they want to just do a bunch
Oh,
of
yeah,
gravel, right?
right.
So that's why that word preferably is there. It's to indicate to a potential homeowner or business developer, like, look, Centerville would rather you put plants in there, but we're not gonna say you
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah, we can't mandate it,
right?
yeah.
I might
that's
be
the-
remembering wrong, but I thought he said they have to have plants or they do not qualify for
No.
that.
Have a percentage coverage of plants.
Not in the
I
park.
remember him saying, like, we don't want people to just
They-
put rocks down because it actually makes
They-
it worse.
Yeah, they actually, in the park strip, want there to be no plants. Remember, that was one of the areas where they said that they don't even want sod or turf or anything, and they said they would prefer it to be low watered or no watered at all, from a drought tolerant position.
well, then what would it be?
That's why it would be drought tolerant plants, or they would rather have
Plants that you
rocks.
don't, that are native,
Yeah,
that don't need water.
bubblers, or yeah,
Yeah.
don't even need water, because they get enough out of the arid climate.
Well, then I'm just gonna say, as a planning commissioner, I'd really like to see us not adopt that loose of a standard. That we maybe start considering a change to the ordinance that does require
Does require,
more than just simple hardscape. And I think that we're getting there.
I think we're working on that.
I had heard Weber as what I'm now articulating, which is what you said, that is required.
Yeah.
You can't just have straight up minerals.
Cement or gravel or whatever.
Yeah, in the park strip, they actually would prefer there not be plantings, and if there are, they'd be drought tolerant. Because they don't want any waste of water to go into those park strips where they dry up and plants don't survive very well.
Totally. I guess what I'm thinking of is when I applied for the Flip the Strip program, they were pretty clear that you had to have something more than just gravel. When I was reading through the brochures, now this is like 5 years ago, and maybe they've modified it since then, but it specifically said you've got to have this percentage coverage of drought tolerant plants. You can't just put in 2-inch gravel
And say it's done.
and say it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's more what I'm envisioning our ordinance ought to be.
And I can investigate it further with them and get back to you to see if there's a misunderstanding even on my part. Being wrong.
Well, it's not necessarily right or wrong, it's what do we want as a vision?
Right.
And I think we've all really been pretty consistent on
Yeah.
this point.
I guess the question, the reason that it was in as preferably
Yeah.
is because do you want to take that hard line of a stance with residents of the community, and will the council support that hard line of a stance to say?
Oh, two good questions, sir.
To say,
Step
you,
one,
you have to
yes.
put
Step
some
two,
kind of
not my
plants.
decision.
Yeah, you have to put some kind of plants in the park strip, because if you take out preferably, then you're making it mandatory.
Yep, yep.
So that becomes a different topic,
Say what
right?
you're gonna say.
So anyway,
So, just what she's got pulled up right here, that very first bullet point, replacing lawn with concrete or other impermeable, whatever, surfaces are not eligible for payment. Is that like,
That's-
are you saying the park strip is different than the lawn?
no, what that's saying is you can't just go concrete in the park strip, but that doesn't say they can't put in gravels. Gravels are permeable.
Okay.
They can actually permeate water. They want the water to get back down into the soil, to get down into the aquifer. Concrete doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
Nor will brick pavers really, because they're too thick unless they're porous pavers. So I think that might be some of the confusion is, I think he said, no concretes or impermeable surfaces, but if it's permeable, smaller rocks and gravel would be allowed. But obviously, it sounds like we prefer there be plantings.
Yeah.
So then that becomes,
The way I envision it is something along the lines of, listen, if you're gonna do this, then, you're gonna put in drought tolerance something or others to a coverage of, X amount. That makes sense. And now, I'm no expert, so I can't give you those standards, but I do, and maybe it's a fever dream. When I read through Flip the Strip, I didn't actually follow through on it, but it seemed like they were so clear on that point with percentages.
and it could have been with the
recommended.
Flip the Strip, but they don't use that program
Oh,
anymore.
I know,
Yeah.
but this is what I'm articulating as
Yeah,
my sort of vision
yeah.
of what would make sense if I'm, anyways.
And you could, I don't want to spend ad nauseum time going through this discussion, but you could even say, what we have here applies to residential, but you will put in
Yeah,
plants if you're commercial, industrial,
right.
multifamily, et cetera, right? So you can even have that kind
Yeah, look
of
it up.
discretion.
Good.
So you're saying that they don't do the flip the strip program, and in this first bullet point, it's talking about are not eligible for payment?
Yeah, they do. They have a landscape rebate program for like your yard and your lawn that they
Yeah.
still do, and they get state funding for, but they no longer do flip your strip. So this is a landscape rebate program,
Okay, this is for like the rest of your
like your
lawn as
yard,
well,
yeah, your yard itself.
which
Yeah.
can include the strip.
Yeah, I think they want it to. include
Includes,
park strip.
the Flip the Strip was limited to the strip,
Yeah, it was only
And
the
this-
strip,
and this is
I-
expanded.
Expand.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and this one's
All right,
called
got it.
yeah.
flip the yard.
But in order to qualify for the funds, you have to do your whole yard space, not just your park strip.
Okay.
So it's an expansion,
Right,
larger
right.
format, and then they get federal or state funds to
State
do it.
funding.
Yeah. So, going back then, what page were we on? Page 6.
Hit bigger again, please, Sid, it went down.
I just added a comment, again, add more language to this, include the terminology redevelopment. I add the statement says, this applies to all new development and or redevelopment of a property use. Again, if we use a term like that, we need to determine what is new development, what is redevelopment. That's what continually I kept coming across as I was going through it. Let's see, the list of low water use plants, we talked about the last one. We really, to my knowledge, I don't have one. So I don't know if we need that statement in there, if I don't even know what that list is, but if I knew, I could export with the Public Works Department. Then there's the reference that we talked about with the park strip, but see, there is a reference, even though I put a potential strike through, CMC 11.02.030 regarding permitted hardscaping in the park strip. So like I said, there is commentary and there is code that I could bring forward at our next discussion of this to better illuminate how that crosses with the landscaping ordinance. And again, yeah, I would say Cindy could even pull it up right now if we wanted to really look it over in more detail. But that's what it's referencing there. And I think I noted, yeah, the reference was wrong though in the code. It would, if we do want to keep it in, it should be CMC 11.02.022, which she has provided.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. Going down, if you're done, if you're not, we can keep on this for a minute.
Just stay here for a second.
Yep.
You want me to zoom in?
Whatever. Sure. I just needed a little bit more time.
Yep.
Just kidding, because I can't scroll over, so. What is
I
it
think
now?
it's right. I think it's just sizing the wording.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Oh, excellent, okay.
it's just sizing the wording to fit, so it's changing the nature of the paragraph.
Okay. Did you find something?
Yeah. He's right. It looks like. Basically, eligible conversions, grass to water-wise plants, trees, and materials, e.g. rock, mulch. So,
Yeah, it just
Oh.
needs to be porous.
And again, back to the mulch thing, because our previous conversation had said no bark.
Right.
Is mulch considered bark?
It could be, and so we would have to define, anytime there's a term mulch, we would have to put not including bark mulch or bark products, if we want to go down that.
So my
deep of a
understanding
hole.
is that that's a sewer problem, right? That by
From
allow,
drainage.
yeah.
Bark, yeah.
yes.
Storm drainage plus it
Because it
blows
gets
over.
flushed into our
and-
system and then causes.
And it blows everywhere and it gets
Yep,
everywhere.
Every windstorm, and then,
Yeah.
and then when you're
And there's
doing
quite
your
a bit of
snow,
wind
right,
in
it gets in
Centerville.
there and,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a,
deteriorates, it gets all dusty and.
Okay.
it's nasty.
So scrolling down to the next page. So last time I had a question about 50%. I think I've identified, and so I just made it even more clear, rather than having a heading that says it. 50% of the overall property perimeter length, the 50% of the overall landscaping area, and then the next one, 50% of the property boundaries, perimeter length between residential and non-residential zone properties. And maybe it's redundant, and maybe we just take out where it says buffer landscape between residential and non-residential development, and we just say 50% in the statement, so it's more clear what it's saying, how the 50% applies in each case. But I wanted to make it clear that that's what it seems to be saying as far as I can see. That next one seems to be from the last time, other than, again, adding the other plantings, preferably drought tolerance in there.
Which one are you talking about?
The under,
Triple I,
under
that
new
one?
4, yeah.
Okay.
New 4. Let's see. Nothing has changed elsewhere on that page. Again, okay, let's, actually, let me see here, I did have. So Mr. Rice made a comment when he was reviewing, he's with the Weaver Basin Water. And again, as we may remember last time we talked about this, when Lisa explained it to us, this landscape plan was more predominantly utilized for non-residential scenarios, but we're trying to now adjust it to better afford opportunities for the water conservation program. So this is a carryover of that. So this one here, as I looked at what he's saying, 3, 4, and even 5, we might need us to characterize it as saying for commercial, multifamily, industrial, unless we feel like single-family residential should be held subject to this standard, which I don't ever think was the intent. So that is something that, I kept his comment there because obviously I still need to identify how to do that if the planning commission agrees with that position.
So for clarification for me, so multifamily, you mean duplexes, apartments,
Not duplex,
townhomes?
because state code allows duplex to be in a single-family category, but anything higher than that,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Townhomes.
well, now I take that back, yeah, a duplex would apply, so yeah, just single-family homes. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up with moderate income stuff, yeah.
Got a
yeah.
lot going on up here. You
Sorry.
do,
No, you're right, it would not, it would just be, yeah, anything not single-family,
not single family.
yeah. But not ADU, we're not talking ADU, which is a whole different category.
Yeah.
Let's not ever talk ADU. It's just,
So, moving on. Let's see, you might already be, oh no, you're not, okay. I don't have any substantial changes other than continually re-identifying CMC.02, 030 to 022 until we get to page 11 of, yeah, I don't know what it is in the packet, shoot.
Does it say plant size?
No, go down to, no,
424, huh?
it's under public street and park strip landscaping is where the next one is that I'm at.
Substantial. Artificial.
And that's under landscaping
plant material
requirements.
standard.
Keep going up, just barely. Keep going a little more. Stop. Yeah, that's it. Water efficient, yeah, that's it. So again, adding the after 2025, but this applies specifically to do new development of single-family residential dwellings and how they apply. Now, as we look at this one, go down to the next page, I'll identify, let's see here. I did try to further branch out single-family and better identify it, and the new developments under water efficient design methods and practices.
Are you on
Again,
C?
Yeah, A and C, again reiterating that from a water deficient design method and practice be applied. But I do recognize that there could be some redundancies here, and there might be opportunities to simplify. And so that's where, again, I think having Lisa look at it a little closer would be helpful. There's one area where I looked at it earlier today, and I read it over. I'm just gonna have to renumber it, but there's an area where I felt like it needed to be sub A, sub B after this version. But I have so much in my head with everything else going on that I don't readily see it right now. So it was a mechanical thing. It would make more sense from new development of commercial, industrial, multifamily to have sub A, sub B because the categories weren't clear. Something to do with the intensities of grasses and plantings, but I'm not seeing it right now, so, oh, it's coming up.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's coming up. So under, 125180, where it has plant size, there's some that needs to be addressed where it's specific to that, to commercial,
Oh, yeah. Right.
multifamily, industrial there. Again, we wouldn't tell a homeowner unless we would, specifically what kind of types of plants and sizes we would
And
want.
sizes, right.
Yeah.
By state law, aren't we not allowed to regulate what residential?
That's true, we can't really, we're not even allowed to regulate landscaping standards
Yeah.
for residential, so.
So that's.
I didn't hear that last part, Mike. We can't what?
You can't regulate specific landscaping standards on residential, single-family residential dwellings.
Like this one does
Like
about
this
the
does.
size of the trees, the
Right.
2-inch calipers,
Yeah.
we can't do that.
So this is for
That, yeah.
industrial,
You gotta
commercial.
be the commercial, industrial, multifamily.
And does it say that specifically above this?
No, that's why I said I need to add that in response
Just
to
to fix that.
Bryce's comments. Artificial landscaping is its own animal.
My poplar trees.
And that's it, so.
Okay.
It's, as you can see, not the easiest,
Yeah.
No, but
Send the
let me,
code, but-
so thank you for the staff report and also the questions between staff and the council. Let's move forward to the public
Oh, yeah.
hearing phase.
yeah.
So this is a public hearing where we hear from the public. I'm going to open up the floor to anybody that wants to come to the podium, state your name and your comment, and let's go from there. Seeing nobody rushing. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion, and I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. I'll lead out. This is a good example of not baked. And
Right.
so I say we need to put in the work, but even before we put in the work, I think staff has already identified things they want to make changes on. We've given you sort of our generalized feedback.
Yeah.
And let's just try again when you're ready. It's not like you haven't been busy with all the other stuff we've been doing.
What other stuff? What other?
Get going.
So with apologies, Mike, bring it back to us when you think it's more baked.
Yeah, I'm gonna, like I said, I really want Lisa to look at it. She has a much better institutional feel of a lot of the issues that are
Yeah.
internal with this document. I'll work on my own things that I even saw today when I did a re-review with fresh eyes on it, and keep working with her. I don't know. I'd like to try to bring it back maybe it'd probably be your second meeting in January would be my thought process. And then again, the planning commission can always hold more public hearings on the matter if we feel like it needs
Yeah.
one, right?
And it would be my intent too,
Okay.
unless you, my co-commissioners feel any different, I doubt so. But here's what I'll do. I'm gonna bring it back to the commission for a vote. I'm gonna lead out with a motion. I move that we table this without date certain, and we direct staff to bake it more. And then when it's more baked, let's say 80%, come back to us and we'll have a public hearing. That's my motion.
Before you were going to make a motion,
Oh.
I was going to ask a question.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I ask Mike or tell Mike some things some points of concern
Sure.
in that, or some points of interest?
In fact, I would even say that, we as planning commissioners can talk to staff. Like, if you want to talk to them and do it offline, that's super helpful. Or do you want to do it right now?
No.
Okay, do it.
So what we talked about, the mulch and the bark, the height of plants and the percentage. Then just the other things you brought up, hardscape redevelopment, defining, and basically the water tolerant plants and strip. That's it.
So then my motion is, we table without date certain until, with the direction to staff to bring it back to us. I don't know, for January, February? When you believe it's closer to what reflects the, commentary we've directed you with. Sound good?
That works for
Do I
me.
have a second?
Second the motion. No, you can, doesn't matter.
Who wants to take it? Commissioner Hahn?
I will second the motion.
I've got a second on the table. Any discussion? I will start down here.
Aye.
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 Aye, perfect. So it's tabled without date certain. Just come back to us when it's more ready.
Sounds good.
So thanks for all your work on it.
A little doughy right now. Is that
A lot.
Oh, man.
more
this-
baked?
This thing is, yeah, gotta keep kneading this
It's
thing.
something.
Okay, but I mean, the point being, I would like to get us to a spot where we can get, and qualify for Weaver Basin's incentives. Be nice.
Yeah.
All right, Community Development Director's Report.
We got one more action item, actually.
You do?
Am I? Yes,
You're so
consideration
excited.
of Planning Commission
Oh, you're
meeting
right.
schedule
Yes,
for
that's
the
it.
year 2026. Thank you.
Perfect, yeah.
So you guys all saw it in your report. Usually what we do here is we just say, are there any conflicts or any problems with what you see there? This is page 282 of 288. Sometimes we've noticed things up on like, at least not in this jurisdiction, but I've seen it in other jurisdictions, like on voting day. We have to make modifications.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody see any issues with this?
If you look at the report, or my brief background, there is a conflict on November 11th. It is
Yep.
Veterans Day. as
Yep.
noted.
Right?
So that's the only thing I would add as staff.
Yep, noticed that. So we would be here.
So we're looking for direction if you'd want to go with the 10th or the 25th. I think staff would encourage the 10th if staff has any say, but we're at the
I
discretion.
would
of the
encourage
I would
the
encourage
10th as
the
well.
10th.
Yes.
I don't know, guys. 25th?
Stop.
The day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think my wife would murder me.
And as far as the.
There's all the
city's concerned-
shopping.
I'd hope
There's all the shopping to do.
Okay, that's all I wondered.
I would vote for the 10th.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I'll take a motion. Do we have to make a motion on this, or is this just directed?
It's required.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the schedule as outlined with the change of adding November 10th to make up for Veterans Day.
Confirming November 10th.
Yeah, confirming
And
November
not the
10th.
25th?
Right,
I
exactly.
have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll start down here.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, so now the Community Development Director's Report.
Honestly, I don't really have anything specifically. I'm kind of drained, so I just wish you all a Merry Christmas and hope you have a festive holiday.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we won't see you again, so thank you for all the work you guys do.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys.
We'll see you next year.
Yeah.
All right, we've got minutes to consider from the November 12th meeting. Do I have any comments, red lines, questions, issues from anybody? Hearing nothing, I'll take a motion.
I will make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as currently
Drafted.
drafted.
Okay, I have a motion.
I have a second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None hearing, it's unanimous. I will take a motion to close.
I will make a motion to close.
I have a motion.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Woodward, or, Commissioner, I was councilman. Hey, I just gave you an update.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Downgrade? It's a lot more responsibility. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Two.
Thanks for coming.
Merry Christmas.